So our last video in chapter 4 is section 5. This is a section where basically we have no solution, or we have that all reals, multiple kind of answers, or we have no bounded feasible regions, or we have no feasible regions. So there are lots of different ways to interpret the answer in this section. So I'm just going to look at a couple of those with you. I'm on page 336. This is section 4.5, and if you'll look as you go back through the book, it has these little boxes in here that tell you each one of the different possibilities for you to look at, and then each one of those will give you a possibility for what that is. So I'm just going to run through these 4, and we're going to talk about what's here, show you what's going on with those, and look at a couple of examples and leave it for you to read the textbook for the rest of that. So I have on number 1 there, you'll notice that on number 1 that the negative 20 here, there's no way to change that negative 20 to a positive number by finding one that's in here to use it to change it. So this is going to have no feasible region. For example, if that had been a negative 1 there, I could have divided everything by negative 1 and changed that to positive 20. But when I do that, everything else here turns into a negative number. Okay, so that's going to give me a no feasible region. Question number 2. On the 3rd column, they're all numbers here, not set up like our identity matrix. They're all numbers here with a 0 at the bottom. That's a big indication that there's more than likely multiple solutions to the problem. So when it gets to this, that means that you have to keep going to see if you can't find another solution. Question number 3 here. If you look in the 4th column, all of these are negative numbers, and that's an indication that there's no solution when all of them in a column are negative. Number 4, looking at row 3, this has got a negative number here, and again, there's no way to change that by multiplying by a negative number here. That won't give you negatives across the board here. So this is a no feasible region. Number 5, and it says to find the multiple solutions. So we know on number 5 that there are multiple solutions to that. So there's question number 5, and I just rewrote that into the initial tableau. So here we have that. Question number 5. Let me see if I can't get this out so you can see it. Okay, for question number 5, this is the initial tableau, and I need to find my first pivot because it says to find the multiple answers. My first pivot here is at 5. And again, that would be reviewing everything that we'd already done. So you find your pivot, it's 5, you turn these into zeros, and then you get this next matrix. And we notice then that I'm going to have to find my next pivot. My next pivot would be on the 2/5. So then I'm going to pivot on the 2/5, turn that into 1, and these into zeros. And when I do that, then I get my next matrix. And here I have 3 variables with a 0 at the bottom of it, which is an indication that there's more than one solution. So I've got to go ahead and see if I can't find that. So I do have one solution for a max at 210. It's at 5,9. But this is the column, and so now I have to pivot again. We're going to go on the 1/2. So on the 1/2, you get this matrix. And so I still have 210 as my max, but now my solution is at 10,4. So again, you have several possibilities on what things can happen. Number 13. Number 13. It says on number 13 to show that there are no feasible regions on number 13. So for number 13, then, it starts with your initial tableau. It's got a negative 13 here. Again, I'm going to divide by negative 1 in the matrix. We'll turn that into a positive. Do my row reduction on my positive 1 here. And I end up with a negative 45. I end up with a negative 45 with no other way to get that into a positive 45 by dividing. So I'm finished with my answer because there would be no feasible region there. Number 17. Again, on number 17, it says find the solution, but it doesn't say which kind it is. So you have to work through the problem and see what you can come up with. No negative numbers here. So I'm going to find my pivot point. My pivot point is the 1. Going to do the 1 and get my zeros here. But then that leaves me with all negatives in one of the columns. And again, that means that it's an unbounded feasible region. Number 29. Number 29 is a word problem. So you set up your word problem with your inequalities, and so I have those set up here. And again, I used X and Y, and I want to find the maximum. So then I take my inequalities and I come up with my initial tableau. I've got this negative 2,000, so I'm going to have to divide by negative 1, which is going to make that a positive 1. And when I do that, then I end up with my tableau here. And then I've got no feasible region because of this information here. Or again, I've got a negative 50 here. And there's no way to turn that into a positive 50. So I have no feasible region. So when it comes to the answers for these, then you're going to have several different things to look at. You're going to have that no solution is now turned into a no feasible region. Or we've got an unbounded feasible region. Or we've got a multiple solution problem. And again, in the textbook, they mark out for you basically the things that you have to see in the tableau to see what the answers are. So that's the end of the chapter.